Okay, we've got wheel sets cleaned up here. And let's take a look at one of them right here. Alright, as you can see, they're still a little bit wet, but they'll dry out pretty quick. These wheels clean up really nice. And one of the things that you want to do is let the dish soap and the metal polish do the heavy lifting, so you're not spending all day with the wire wheel. But they polished up real nice, and now we've got a set of clean wheels. Next thing we've got to do is we got to clean up these side frames, and then we are going to go into and we're going to go ahead and do the all-terrain modification and the number 6 switch modification. Gentlemen, all right, we are about to make our very special modification, the TK421 modification, which we do right here in the shop. Now, these are the old Athearn Blue Box side frames that are metal. If you recall from our SDP40 video, these locomotives that have these side frames struggle when crossing switches, especially the number 6 or 4 to 6, and sometimes even 4 to 4. They tend to skid off the rails. So we're going to do a little thing. We're going to make the modification here to prevent that. And the nice thing about this is when we do this, these locomotives are really super reliable yard switchers when you do this right. So what I've got here in the drill press, I've got my 1/8 inch drill bit. Drill press is set on the slowest speed. And I got my little XY table. You don't need all this fancy stuff to do this. You can do this by hand, although I like to do it this way because it's easier for me to see exactly what we're going to do. So let's go ahead. What we're doing is we're taking the middle piece here. Let's see if we can zoom in somewhere where you can see this. Okay. In the middle of these things, these little bronze bushings right here. Can you see that? We need to enlarge this little hole here. We're going to do a 1/8 inch drill bit on this, and what that does is that means that the middle axle, our middle axle here, is going to get some side to side up and down movement like this, and that helps it go over rougher track. The thing you got to remember is 2 points of contact, 2 axles to contact the track with the full weight of the locomotive. That's what keeps it on the track. If you get a third one in there with the full weight on it, you got a conflict. And that can't happen, and what happens is you skid off the track then. What we want is up and down play on the middle axle, and that's going to give us some all-terrain action. The gears are still engaged, and we're still picking up power, but the front and the rear axles that handle the load of the locomotive. Alright, let's see if we can get a better look here. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. If I do this right, here we go. Okay, now these bronze bushings tend to come out, and if you see right where I'm going with this, I'm going to hold my screwdriver there. I have to do this backwards. Alright, so I'm going to go down in there. Make sure that we are lined up just right on this. Nope, that is a no-go. Let's line this thing up. Alright. Now, I like this little, this is a pretty cheap little XY table, but it works pretty good. I don't know what it was like. With a 40% off coupon I got at Harbor Freight. It comes assembled. Let me give you a tip about this thing. It comes, I know why they come fully assembled. The reason they come fully assembled is so that whatever country they made this in, they know that all the parts are there. You have to take this whole thing apart and clean it, and by clean I mean these nuts and these moving parts, they need to be I'm not sure how you say it. Well, anyways, I used graphite coating. I tried grease at first. That was a bad idea. Got grease got everywhere. So I used a graphite coating on it. Then I put it back together and tightened up the tolerances and stuff, and it works pretty good. Okay, now we're going to get in there. And we're going to get us a 1/8 inch modification to that middle bushing right there. Alright, we're right on. Chances are I'm just gonna pull the bushing out, so I got my screwdriver here. If I go nice and easy, yeah, see, it's already spinning. Now the tolerance for this modification is pretty loose. So, oh, there we go, we lift it up. Let's see if we got it. I think we got it. Let's take a look here. Let's take a look and see what we got. Well, what we did get right away is pulled the bushing out, and now I dropped it on the floor. Alright, here it is. Here it is. There's the bushing. And I dropped it on the floor. Alright, so what we need then is a little tweezers, right? We're just going to put that back in. Just like that. Okay. I think we have got it drilled out. Let's check it. Not that good though. Nope, still sticks on here. Alright. I will get this thing drilled out. If you're using a hand drill, you don't have to be super accurate. So you can put this in your bench vise and go ahead and use a hand drill. Alright, so alright, I'm gonna fix that. Working on these side frames. What I'm doing now is I want to, you can see here, let's get focused. There we go. You see these little guys right here? I'm going to take my Moto tool. You can use a file to do this. I'm going to use the fiberglass and I'm going to make these nice and smooth. So here's the problem. I'm going to show you something. In this one, this gets in focus. You can see that in the middle here. This is why you do not use the 9/64, because I broke it. This one's already been filed. This one is missing. I dropped one on the floor and it is lost, and I'm not going to find it for a long time, so I'm not going to look for it anymore. I'll show you what we're going to do. I'm going to take the middle one out of another one. It's probably not going to affect our power pickup, but I'm going to take the middle one. Since the middle one is the one where I want the extra clearance, I'm going to grab one. One of these middle ones is not going to have one. Alright, so you got to be really careful, because these come out and they get lost and they're really hard to find. So let me show you one here. Got my fiber cutoff wheel, and I'm going to go ahead from the inside. I'm not going to use the top, I'm going to use the bottom of it. That way I can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to come in here and flatten that. I got it on the lowest speed. It does not have to be perfect. There's one. There's my candidate right there. It's already loose. There we go. So that's how I'm going to do it. This guy that's loose is now I'm going to take him out. Just grab a little screwdriver. He is going to be my guy. He was loose a second ago. No, now he doesn't want to come out. Yeah, he does. There we go. So I got one out. I'm going to put him on the end of the one that's missing one right there. I'm not too concerned about the middle ones. It's going to work just fine. So if you end up losing one, and you might, we'll make do. We're going to make it work. And we're not going to sweat it, and we are not going to spend a bunch of time looking for it. I crawl around the floor with a flashlight. I don't want to do that again. Get that guy down there with the needle nose. That's it. He's in there. Okay, that's going to be good enough. Now, let me clean this mess up. All right, we are ready. We'll put some gears together to do the reassembly of the gears. And once again, I'm using my favorite stuff, and that is this lithium high temp wheel bearing grease, this red stuff. Like I've said in every other video, look at this. It cost me $2, and this has lasted me like 3 decades. One pound of it, and I haven't even used quarter pound in 30 years. So here's the thing. As I say every time, why do I like this stuff? It's because it doesn't spread. And what you don't want is grease spreading everywhere, or people using a ton of oil. The one that most people use is the label stuff. That's fine for if you do regular maintenance. But most of you are going to do this one time, and then you're going to forget about it, and you're going to leave it, and that stuff is going to turn to basically like amber later. If you're going to do, if you plan on breaking these down and cleaning them every, 5-6 years, then you might use that. All right, enough about that. Let's put this stuff on. Okay, so I got everything lined up here. Everybody gets a big gear, big idler. Okay, just like that. All right, now I'm going to take my little screwdriver here, and I'm going to get just a dab of grease on the end of it, like that. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grease this idler. And if I'm careful and I don't spread it all throughout the gearbox, once I get all the gears in here, this will spread out by itself. And the cool thing about this red stuff, like I said, it will spread through the gear, but it will stay in the gearbox. Alright, so then let's get a couple of these little ones. They're all the same. And they go on the other 2 posts. Give them each a little speck of grease. You do not need to pack this thing with grease. There are mechanisms where you do pack them with grease, and I have one we'll be doing in the future. I believe it's a BL2. Okay, so now I've got my grease on here. I'm going to go ahead and give it a few turns, and the grease will spread through the gears. It's already doing that, and now I'm going to look for places where it collects in the box, and looks like we're doing good. Alright, so it feels pretty good too. It's not super tight. I don't know, but you know what? It's not as good. Yeah, these two are. One of these guys is a little bit tight. So, okay, so he's a little tight, and we are going to give him some. I don't usually lube the inside of these, but it's okay if you do that. As far as I know, in 3 decades of using this, it doesn't have any negative effects on plastic. I haven't encountered brittle plastic anywhere. after using this. Still, that is not as loose as we'd like it. Let's see if we swap out and swap their position. I want this to be nice and free. Okay, that's much freer. And even though the same gears, sometimes you need to... Ooh, that's nice now. Yeah. Check and see. You'll feel it. If it's stiff, you'll feel it. Right now, that's pretty good one. Okay, let's do this other one. So, I'm going to take a little bit of the grease, and I'll go ahead and I'll do the insides. Just a dab. I don't usually do that, but this one is really old. This is, as I said before, what is considered an early years Athearn. That means before 1981, but after Hi-Fi. And Hi-Fi was rubber band drive. So put a little grease on. I'm going to check to see if it's smooth or not smooth. So far so good. Goes around and look for any buildup. Not bad. These early years Athearns are pretty common. A lot of people don't like them. They've got the big motor in them, which was the reason why the hood is not scale width. The hoods are wider. And you can see that on the front of this one. Now, I used to cut the cab off and the hood off, and I'd replace this hood with a scale width hood, and I'd leave the back one. And I've got some of those over there. They look pretty good. One thing I do really like about these is when you get them all tuned up, they pull excellent. You can get them quieted down. All kinds of good stuff about these. And here's the thing. People are like, oh, why don't you just get something newer? You know what? Some guys like new locomotives, and some guys like to work on old ones. They're like old cars. Some people just like working on this stuff, like me. That's what I like to do, is rebuild these things. And I have no problem rebuilding whatever it is. I'll tell you what, if you haven't considered ever rebuilding your very first locomotive you ever got, I've rebuilt mine a couple of times. I kind of keep it, you know, the way it is, but I make sure that it's in good workshop. Now, one thing we haven't done here is, remember, we didn't check the wheels yet. We are going to check the wheel gauge, but I want to check to see if I'm getting my free play on my middle axle. Then we will go back. If the wheels are out of gauge, I'll show you what we're going to do. And I'm going to make sure. Okay, I've got one sort of together. I'm going to go ahead and reassemble this. And if it is just right, sometimes these are, there we go. Until you get the clips on, they can be a little difficult to work with. Make sure this bottom one lines up with your axles. And now remember, I have not done wheels, so we are not done with this. All that I have done you're going to find out now if this thing feels nice. We don't know if it's in gauge, and we don't know if we get the effect. It's not bad. I'm checking to see if the middle axle moves up and down. It's not too bad. Let's check it across the switch here. Okay, let's take a look. Track 1 down here. We're going to go from a number 6 to a number 4. Feels pretty good. Let's go down here. Track 2, let's go 4 to 4. Number 4 and a number 4. Okay, that feels nice.
Checking wheel gauge.
Moving on with our standards gauge here. You don't have one of these? Pretty handy. Something you want to have. It has 2 little cutouts here. It says wheels on them. I'm going to check ours. And I would like to rotate them around a little bit. Oops, see, a little stiff. Nice thing about these old Athearn ones are pretty easy to get engaged. If they're slippery and they don't want to stay, I suggest tacky glue or shoe glue. Because when you change your mind later, or it's off again, you can go ahead and undo it. Now this one is just a little bit off. There we go, that's one. Do another one. That's 2, that's pretty good. Three, that one's good. Let's try this truck that we did. Looking pretty good. Alright, so that's how we do that. So on these, the wheels are stuck in the center here with this plastic gear, and so we can just grab onto it like this and give it a little twist, set the gauge. Now when this comes loose, that's where I'm saying you put a dot of tacky glue in there. Maybe Elmer's white glue might get a little hard, but it should work. Do not use super glue, and do not use epoxy, because eventually this thing will get out of gauge and then you'll wreck it trying to get it back into gauge again. Okay, so use a glue where you can change your mind later. That's how you do it. Alright, it is that time again. Time to do some soldering and some wiring. Now, do you remember this guy over here? That was our SDP40 that we did last time. And check him out. He's still working. Check him out going on number 6. Okay, we're going to switch from 6 to a 4. No problem. Now, you can guess, why is he out here right now? Oops, let's go. We want to do a 4 to a 4. Oh, I blew it. See that? Not paying attention, I skidded him off the track. And he's still off the track. See if he gets back on there. There we go. This one has the same mechanism that we're doing right now. Alright. So now maybe if I pay attention and get him to work here. There he goes. Number 4 to number 4. Let's bring him back. Okay, now why did we bring him out here? So here's the thing. We've already done one of these, which is identical to this SD45 when we take the hood off, right? Guess what? We have already done one. Okay. In fact, this one is even older. This one is even older. This is an early years one because it has the metal motor mount on it. So this is actually, this is not the one I want to use for an example. All right. Anybody remember this Chicago Northwestern tunnel motor? Yeah, that's pretty cool, huh? All right. This is the guy we want to use. Okay, we're going to use this as an example because I want to do this same thing again where we go black wire directly from the truck up to our little stand-in piece. That's the way we want to wire up this SD45, so we can bypass some of the extra spots that electrify the frame. Remember, the frame still carries a charge when it's operating. So that's when we were talking about metal couplers. Sometimes you get shorts when people wire them for the wrong direction.
So take a look.
All right, let's see what
There
we got.
he is on the track. Red wire is on the right hand side. That is the direction going to the front. Red wire is on the right. And there he goes, okay? So when my arrow is pointed right, he goes right, red wire's on the right. Go the other direction. Okay, so this is the way I want to wire this SD45. What I want is, we know which way the front is on this frame because there was the old headlight connector. Okay, when this thing is on the track here, I want red wire on the right. So that means this guy. And I want black wire on the left. And you see these things both face the same direction. Okay. So now I know which side they go on. I have a sample here, an example, so I can follow that. I don't have to memorize this. If I did, I'd put a chart up on the bulletin board here. That's why we have a little bulletin board above our workbench, is so that we can put important information like that. Okay, let's get to it. Did anybody notice I put this together on? Two of the same sides on here. Totally blew it. Let's fix that. Somebody will pick up on that later. We're going to do like we did before. We're going to use this stride, whatever this was, 30 gauge, something like that. And if you did not watch that or you don't remember, the reason that we do that is because this stuff is so easy to work with. I just snip off a little piece here. I'll leave it long until I figure out how much I want. Now, remember, I can pinch it. I just pinch and pull. It's that easy. That's the way we like it. Just pinch and pull, and I've got the end. Remember, now I have to tin those. So I got two kinds of flux. This is the rosin. That's for tinning. The wire. Remember this stuff? I told you do not use this. This is not for you to use, but I'm going to show you here is where this is a time when you need it. Okay, you should have some of this, but normally you don't use it for anything except what I'm going to show you now. Now, this is the acid paste. Acid paste is for heavy duty stuff. And what we want to do is, this is the side frame, and I know that this is the rear. This part right here is closest to the motor, and I want to get a wire soldered right there. And with that rosin paste flux, I can't do that. It just won't work. Not only that, I can't use the little one. I'm going to have to use the big chopper, right? Then you have to use this big guy. That's how we're going to do it. Okay, so what I do is I'm going to take a piece of this solder. Wish I could remember. I got this solder so long ago, and I don't remember where I got it, but it's really good stuff. It's some kind of micro electronics stuff. It's nice and thin and flexible. Alright, so I got my solder ready. I'm going to take I use this one little yellow screwdriver to do my flux. So I'm going to take a little dab of flux here of the acid paste, and I'm going to dab it right on the end on both of these, right on the end, right where I want. Now what I'm doing is I'm making a spot with solder that I can then solder my wires to. Okay, so I'm going to take a big chopper, get it heated up, take my steel. Some people use a brass. On this big one, I found that I need to use the steel one. Clean it off here. Here's why I like to use particle board workbench and stuff. I don't care if I burn the bench. Fine. Okay, she's getting nice and red. Okay, remember when we did night vision? I'm going to show you again how you know. See that? That's hot. She's getting heated up real good. That's in night vision. Alright, now, remember what I said about these things. This sucker here will melt down every piece of plastic in this whole project in like 2 seconds. So what I gotta do is I gotta heat it up, and then I've got to touch it if I can. And I gotta get off it. Alright, I got one little spot. This one here, this one's pretty tough. This is tougher to solder to than when we did the tunnel motor. And I'm already getting a bunch of carbon buildup there. These suckers are really hard to solder to. Let me get this one done and then I'll be able to show you in quick order. Okay, so here's what happened. Too many hits on the corner here and I'm starting to melt stuff. So we got to go to plan B on this one because of kind of I used up all my chances on that. Fine. Plan B is to hit the top of this thing just on the side here and tin a spot there. That's where we're going to attach our wire. I wanted to put it directly on the frame, but one too many times and I started melting stuff. When you do that, it's time to stop and go to the next plan. Fortunately, we have a next plan. Okay, so on this one here, okay, so the sits on it like this. I'm going to get my black wire right there. Alright, once again I got to do the acid paste because this is heavier steel. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of acid paste right here, just a little bit. Okay, now on a big chopper, what I want to do, and I can do that, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, just a little touch of acid there. I'm going to put a bead of solder right on the tip of my big chopper, just like that. Now if I can get that to stay on there, and you can't always do it on these big ones, but if I can, all I got to do is come in here just like this and touch it and I'm out. Got it. And that's probably too much solder on there, but I got it on there. Whoops, I got it on there right there so you can see it. Okay, now I got the wire cup ready. This one is cool. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean it. And there's too much stuff on it, so I'm going to wipe it off here. And I wrecked it. Oh, good job. I just broke it. What are we going to do now? Now that I've broken it, I broke it off. Well, that one I think we can just fix. So I broke this part out of here. And that's probably from me hitting it one too many times with the big chopper on the side frame there, and I melted something and now it's broken. So let's see if we can put it back in here and fix it. Alright. We got it back in there. Still suspect, but it's in there. Once it's together, we probably won't need to worry about it. But those kinds of things happen. Alright, let's clean number 2. Hit it with the wire cup. I don't like to leave a whole bunch of, I don't like to leave acid paste on there because it will corrode it and rust the crap out of it later. So here's the thing. Later, like years later from now when I come back to this one, there might be a little rust in here. But if it gets used a lot in an operating session, we'll see that and we'll clean it up as we go. Alright, so now I got my 2 things. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take some of the rosin core. Okay, I've wiped off my screwdriver here on my handy little rag. I'm going to get a little bit of the rosin, flux right onto my little beads here where I've tinned it. And then I'm going to take my wires, which you saw I pinched and pulled, dip them in the rosin, in the flux, get some on there, and then I'm going to take my little guy here, should be heated up to clean them up. Alright, let's take my little guy here. For these little wires, these little soldering pencils, they really work good. I wish I could remember where I got this one. It has an on-off switch on it, if you can see that. So you can see it looks like this. Comes in a little kit. It was like $7 or $8 somewhere. If you see it, it's pretty decent. Tip wears out, I'll just get a whole new setup. Okay, let's go ahead and tin the ends of these. If you're new to soldering, this is one of like the keys of secret to your success in soldering is tinning things. Okay, now I've got it tinned, so I'm gonna get some more flux again. Wherever you're gonna connect, you keep on putting some flux on. Okay, now right here, if you can see this, see if we can get a better view. What if we zoom in? Alright, let's see if we can get it in your view here. Okay. You see my bead there, right? Right there. Okay, that's where I want to put my wire. I'm gonna turn it the way I look at it. Okay, so see my wire? And I've got my little, it's already tin, I've got some extra flux on it. Now if you can see, I'm just going to be able to touch it, and that's it. That easy. Oops, it's that easy. Oh yeah, why don't you take a look at that. There we go. Okay, it's that easy. When I have all my parts prepared, there's no reason to fear soldering. So, let's see, which way are you going to go now? You're going to be in the back. Okay. I don't want to have to redo these later, so I want to get the wires facing the right way. So let's take a look. Watch. You can see this. I've already got it. I got flux on both of them. I just touch it. Just melts right in there, and we are good. Here we go. Got our black wires on. Black wires on. Let's move on to the next phase. All right, let's take a look at the underframe here. Okay, now in the center here, you know we're going to insulate this. I'm going to put in a couple of new motor mounts that I have. I got to think about that. I might scratch build something for you. Let me think about it. It'd be easier if I just put motor mounts in here, but maybe you guys would rather see a piece in here that you can make yourself. Either way, we got to get this frame cleaned up, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean it. I'm not going to strip it, but I am going to put new primer on it. And then before we move on to the red wires, I think I might get the coupler pads ready, tapped. You remember when we did these? See how we got our 256 screw in there? We want to do the same thing on this one. Alright, let me get this cleaned up and I'll get this painted.